I acknowledge the Dja Wurrung's peoples, past, present and future elders upon whose country we are standing on today. In my Waka Waka language we call this country Bundayan. Today it is known as Australia. So I acknowledge all Bundayans, past, present and future elders. I pay homage to my ancestors from the Waka Waka tribe and Waka Waka Nations people for the life and knowledges they have given me, which I share with you today. Hi everyone, I'm Uncle Paulie Joe Chapman and I'm a Waka Waka man from Isvale, Queensland. I'm currently living in central Victoria on Dja Wurrung country. Now I'm going to play the sounds of the animals on the didgeridoo. This is Colin the Corroboree frog. And this is Kenny the koala. This is Katie the kookaburra. And this is Mandy the magpie. It is from the language of the animals and birds that gave Waka Waka people our language. Our language demonstrates how my culture belongs within nature and how interconnected we were to country and all living beings. Today we need to take that giant step to not only learn about our wildlife but how to protect them. For in learning how to protect them, we learn about their environment and our country. For without our wildlife, we have no understanding of nature or connection to the country that gives us life and how to take care of it for future generations. And now we're going to hear from a very special person, Dr. Jane Goodall.
Hello, this is Jane Goodall, and I want to talk about something really exciting. Over the past year, thanks to the contributions and the support of the Phillips Foundation, the Don Hanson Charitable Foundation, the Monarchy Foundation, and the Yule Gilbar Foundation, it's been possible to create these boxes, the Roots and Shoots resource boxes. And they're going to go to 4,000 schools across Australia. So inside these incredible boxes, first of all, there's a letter which explains exactly what's in the box. And it's pretty obvious, but anyway, there's the letter. And then there are these unbelievable books. And the first one is called What on Earth? And it's the creatures you've never heard of. And I wonder how many of the students will have heard of them. It'll be very interesting to find out. And then the next one, Amazing Australia. And again, I just wonder how many students in Australia know much about the animals apart from the obvious kangaroos and wallabies and things like that. But Australia has the most biodiverse collection of animals anywhere, and it's really important that children learn about them and grow to understand them and help to try to save them, because many of them are on the verge of extinction and we've already lost some. So this is really important and fantastic. And then next comes local safari, and this is wildlife adventures at home. And this is going to encourage children, sometimes on school expeditions, sometimes in the holidays, to go and explore more about their own fantastic country and get really proud of what they've seen, what they've learned, what they can share with their friends. And then finally, we have what I think is really exciting. This is for the children and the students to take action, and that's what Roots and Shoots is all about. This is called Woody Wild, and it will involve hundreds and hundreds of children planting thousands and thousands of trees, indigenous trees, across Australia. Incredibly important now because of the terrible wildfires that swept across the country last year. These resource boxes and their contents are going to inspire the next generation of young conservationists and environmentalists who will be out there helping to make the world a better place.
Thank you, Jane. So now I would like to read to you the closing passages of Dr. Jane Goodall's inspiring foreword to our children's book, An Antechinus in the Attic. In this foreword, Jane refers to how important stories are because they touch our hearts and minds in very powerful and lasting ways. Jane says, "Who knows how many of the young people who read this book will become the next generation of conservationists, scientists, nature lovers, and of course, storytellers. The lovers of animals, the protectors of the natural world, the activists who work to raise awareness and introduce legislation to save our heritage before it is too late." The most important message she has for everyone is the cornerstone of our program for young people everywhere. Remember that every day you live, you make some kind of impact on the planet around you, and you can choose what sort of impact you make. Together, we can create a kinder and more compassionate world where head and heart work in harmony and where we respect each other, the animals with whom we share this planet, and the places where they live.
Oh, we're on! Hey, look, Win! Hi, it's Ben from Jane Goodall's Roots and Shoots Australia here, coming to you from Melbourne, Victoria. A reminder that you will see many cute and cuddly creatures in this episode, many you might not have seen before. But unlike my cute and cuddly pet Dash and Winifred here, these animals are wild animals. JJA and SBN do not endorse the handling or being in close proximity of wild animals by persons other than the qualified professionals like the carers, keepers and scientists featured in these videos, who are licensed handlers and comply with Australian standards of wildlife care. Well, bye for now, enjoy the episode, and Winnie and I will be watching from here in Melbourne, won't we, Win?
Hi everyone, I'm Maya, coming to you from Sydney. I'm a youth leader at JGI Australia's Roots and Shoots, and I'm also very lucky to have been a member of the Youth at the Zoo volunteer program at Taronga Zoo. Now, I hope you've been enjoying an action-packed week as we celebrate our wonderful Australian wildlife. I know I certainly have been learning a lot as we travel around the country. And now we're going to meet even more of our curious creatures leaping across the pages of An Antechinus in the Attic. So today, it is my great pleasure to introduce to you some pretty unique and remarkable Australian animals. We're actually going to travel to Taronga Zoo and find out what they're doing to help conserve Penny the platypus, and we'll introduce you to Bob the bilby while we're there as well. Bye for now.
Today we're here on the Colo River where we've actually just released a male platypus back to the wild. When we had a look at him this morning, he appeared brilliant. You know, he's in great condition. What we wanted for him was to see him at around about 1 to 1.4 kilos, and he's right on 1.3, so we're quite happy with that. His tail condition is fantastic, so it demonstrates that he's got some reserves. Straight away when we put him in, he was just demonstrating normal behaviour, which is what we want to see. Obviously for us, we did expect that maybe he might take off straight away, but in fact he just hung around us a little bit, felt the waters, and then eventually just swam off to the bank where he's hung for the last half an hour. We've released him as early as we can today to give him today to actually find as many spots as possible that he could potentially hide in. What we want for him is to be able to find deadfall in the river where he can hide in. We've picked this spot specifically because of how much opportunity there is here for him. If you're visiting a place like this where there are a few tourist parks around, people often do bring their dogs as well. I guess so one thing that I'd ask is that you try and look after your animals as best as possible, keep them close on a lead. Platypus can unfortunately fall victim to dog attacks. But I guess also when fishing in areas like this, sometimes yabby traps are used in water bodies like the Colo River, and unfortunately they catch non-target species like the platypus. So obviously trying to pull back on those sorts of practices and remove it completely would be amazing. If you do find one, definitely you want to take it to a wildlife care facility as soon as you can. Wires are great for that. They've got quite a wide reach. Those wires, staff will then bring the animal to the zoo where we can give it the best care possible.
Hi, I'm Elliot Connor from Human Nature Projects and the Jane Goodall Institute's Roots and Shoots. But these are bilbies, small rabbit-like marsupials which live in burrows in Australia's scorching deserts. During the day they stay underground to keep cool, but at night they're out and about looking for tasty insects and seeds to eat. Their large ears help them pick up tiny sounds from these critters, whilst listening out for danger from invasive cats and foxes. Because of these threats, bilbies carry around their young with them in backwards facing pouches. Sadly, new farming land and fires mean that much of the bilby's habitat has been destroyed. Only one species remains, the greater bilby. That's all from me about the bilby, so it's bye for now and back to the team at JGIA and SBN.
Hi, it's Luke Eden here, SBN's Youth Ambassador, and how amazing is painting the platypus and Bob the bilby. How wonderful was it to see that beautiful platypus released back into the wild. The team at Taronga Zoo are doing such an incredible job in their recovery programs. Now we're crossing from Sydney in New South Wales up north to Ipswich in Queensland to visit the Ipswich Nature Centre, where Edith the emu and David the dingo are hanging out.
Hey guys, and a big hello to all of our viewers. My name is Darcy and I am a leading hand at the Ipswich Nature Centre. This facility has been running for over 80 years and I've been lucky to be working here for the past 5 of those years. So this is part of Ipswich City Council's free zoo, and we're actually one of the only free zoos in all of southeast Queensland. Now I want today to introduce you to some of my friends of David the dingo. We've got Moose, our dingo, and we've also got Lola, who she's just running around a bit, but I wanted to introduce you guys to these dingoes. So dingoes are really fantastic animals, and there's a few things that they're facing as issues in the wild. Namely, it's wild dogs. So domesticated dogs that are running around the wild, they're breeding, and unfortunately the bloodline of dingoes is diminishing. Now, one of the reasons why dingoes are actually really important for our Australian ecosystem is that they are the only top tier predator that we really have running around hunting. So what this means is they're the only animal that can really take care of cats and foxes and sort of outcompete them when it comes to sort of hunting and habitats. One of the other really important things we can do to protect dingoes is we can look at how we think about dingoes and how we react about dingoes. So it's really important to appreciate them as wild animals and not just as dogs, because they are very different. Some of those differences, let me just go into it a little bit. These guys are like the upgraded versions of dogs. So they've been living in Australia for about 4,000 years. And in those 4,000 years, they've been doing whatever they can to survive and hunt in the Australian wild. So they have a few key adaptations that your pet dog wouldn't have. They don't have any smell, for example, which helps them when hunting. So wallabies can't smell a dingo coming for them, and they stay very, very clean because of this. Some of the other really cool features about a dingo is that they are really flexible. They have additional joints in their legs. They can also partially dislocate their hip bones. They have rotation wrists that rotate just like yours and mine. And they can also turn their head 180, a lot more than I can turn my head. But they can almost turn their head completely all the way around. These sort of adaptations really help when it comes to hunting, particularly these sort of flexible adaptations that they have. So the partially dislocating hips is a really good way for them to be able to get into burrows, get into holes, and make sure that they don't get stuck or injured while hunting. Here we go, here's our girl, having a bit of a kiss. Now these guys are very, very friendly, but it is really important, like I said, to appreciate these guys as wild animals. You'll often see dingoes in many parts of Australia, more famously in some of our coastal areas like Fraser Island, where they have beautiful population of purebred dingoes. One of the biggest issues that comes with this sort of close environmental relationship with people is that often we have tourists who don't really quite understand just how important dingoes are, approaching them as though they are your common pet type animal. And this typically goes really bad for people, and it can cause dingoes to sort of lash out and bite. You can find yourself in trouble, and this doesn't help the dingoes out at all. So it is really important to make sure that if you see a wild dingo, you just leave them be. All right, wonderful, thank you so much. That's all from me. We're gonna go check out one of our other friendly Australian animals, Emu the emu. So come with me and we'll go check him out. Now you've met your friend in the storybook, Edith the emu, but I want to introduce you to my good friend, Emu the emu. He's a lot like Edith in many ways in that he's a bit of a trash eater. These guys are omnivores, which means that they eat just about anything, and it's quite true. They'll eat grasses, shoots, roots, bugs, insects, and they even eat rocks. Bit strange, but what that will do is actually help them digest their food. So these guys are really, really cool animals. And they're on our Australian coat of arms. So they're actually pretty famous guys too. They're a pretty large bird. Emus are actually the second largest species of bird in the world, followed only just by the ostrich, which lives in Africa. But this big boy is quite the powerful animal. So they're the only birds that actually have calf muscles. What that helps them do is they can run really, really fast, but they can also kick really powerfully. So these big feet of his, if you get a look at emu feet, they actually look very prehistoric, very much like dinosaur feet. They're a bit like dinosaurs actually. Their ancestors even lived and roamed around the Australian continent many thousands of years ago while dinosaurs also roamed. So they're actually one of our last existing megafauna species in the country, which is really special because we don't have a lot of megafauna species. Emus have a really cool feature as well, that they actually have double eyelids, so 2 sets of eyelids for each eye. One of those eyelids will keep out dust, the other will just be used for looking pretty. They also have feathers that are all split into 2, so emu feathers are a bit different to all sorts of other bird feathers, and actually what this does, it will help create a big, lovely coat, sort of keeps them nice and waterproof and dustproof in the hot Australian sun. He's a big flightless bird, but as you can actually see, right here is his wing. So this is his tiny little wing, which he obviously cannot use for flying, but he can use for a quick turn if he wants to sort of run around in the wild. He will just and sort of change directions, which is really important if he's running away from anything that might be trying to get him. Okay, so this has been a great pleasure working on giving you guys a bit of information from some of the animals in your storybook, Antechinus in the Attic, from myself, from Lola and Moose, our dingoes, and from Emu the emu. That's a really big thank you and goodbye from us at the team at Ipswich Nature Centre. See you later, guys.
Thanks, Darcy. Hi everyone, my name is Vanita and I am a member of the Roots and Shoots National Youth Leadership Council down here in beautiful Tasmania. How amazing was it to hear about the fantastic species at Ipswich, one of Australia's oldest council-owned nature parks. I can't wait to go visit David the dingo and Edith the emu while I'm there, getting up to all kinds of fun and adventures, I'm sure. Now, get ready to meet one of Australia's most popular birds, Gertrude the galah. Have you ever seen a galah flying through the sky, bright pink feathers? Well, get ready as we go meet the dedicated keepers of Adelaide Zoo, who will tell us more.
Hi, I'm Michelle and I'm the Senior Keeper of Nature Theatre at Adelaide Zoo. I look after a whole bunch of animals here at Adelaide Zoo, including a lot of the animals that you might have come and seen and gotten up close and personal with if you've ever visited us here. Now today we're looking at Gertrude the galah, who is absolutely gorgeous, and she's been gossiping in the gazebo with a whole bunch of friends. They've got a good little gang here of Greta the greater glider, Gordon the goanna, and Gideon the Gouldian finch. And we've got our very own Gertrude here. She's a lovely little galah, and she is an ambassador for her species. So her job here at Adelaide Zoo is to teach people how to care for some of those endangered animals in the wild, including other cockatoos like Kath the cockatoo, who you might have met on another page. Now, all cockatoos need tree hollows to raise their babies, but tree hollows take about 200 years to grow, and if we cut down those trees, then they won't have anywhere to raise their babies. So some really easy things that you can do at home, that Gertrude can teach the kids here at the zoo as well, is to plant some native trees, and while we're waiting for them to grow, we can pop up some nesting boxes as well. And that means that you might be lucky enough to have a little galah or maybe a greater glider come and make their home in your own backyard or school. Well, thanks for listening. Now we're going to go back to the team at JGI and SBN. Bye for now.
Hey everyone, it's Isaac Wildlife Warrior here from the SBN's team here in Victoria. A big thanks to Adelaide Zoo for giving us all the goss on Gertrude the galah. Now we're going to head across from Adelaide Zoo in South Australia all the way to Wild Action Zoo here in Victoria. Chris Humphreys has heaps of cool things to share with us about the magnificent lace monitor and the critically endangered mounted pygmy possum. I know Percy the mounted pygmy possum, from an Antechinus in the attic, is rather fond of picking up prunes from the pudding, but there's one other thing that they love to eat even more. So, let's go find out what it is.
G'day everyone, zoologist Chris Humphrey here. I run a company called Wild Action and we concentrate on breeding endangered species and educating all Australians on the importance of protecting biodiversity. This is a lace monitor, Varanus varius, and I have to be very careful. This is the second largest apex terrestrial predator here in Victoria, second to the dingo. These are vital for our ecosystems. They eat up all of the slithering snakes. And they've got such tough skin. When a snake bites them, the fangs of the snake deflect off that tough skin, almost like security mesh on the front door of your house. Apex predators are so important to protect in our ecosystems. They keep balance and order. He's got a forked tongue for smelling you with, a bifurcated tongue. You might see just down here on his leg, a bit of skin is peeling off his body. He's sloughing, he's shedding his skin, he's growing bigger. That means he's healthy. He doesn't have to go to the shops to buy his clothes. Wow, look at that. You don't want to get bitten by this guy because he has necrotic saliva in his mouth. Look how he's using his back to flatten out his body like a solar panel. These lizards are ectothermic. They heat up their body by sitting in the sun. Now, look at his adaptations. Massive, massive long tail. A body built for speed. He drags his tail behind him as he goes running through the undergrowth and it helps him to balance. Very sharp claws for climbing up the trees, and he uses his tail like a bullwhip to whack you with if you get too close. The reason why they're endangered is because of loss of habitat, and they often fall victim to our vehicles on our roads. They sit in the middle of the roads to sunbake. Lace monitors are close cousins to the Komodo dragon. And he needs tall, open eucalyptus woodlands to live in. they need the hollow logs to rest in and to hibernate in. Lace monitors lay their eggs in termite mounds. The warmth from the termite colony helps the eggs to incubate. It takes 9 months for a tree goanna to hatch out of an egg. And tree goannas are known to be quite maternal. When the babies are about to hatch out of the egg, the females have been seen scraping out the termite mound, assisting the baby tree goannas to get out. Now, with land clearing and land degradation, termite mounds are disappearing, so they've got nowhere to lay their eggs. And when the babies do hatch, they get predated upon by foxes and cats and dogs. So there's no replenishment of lizards when these animals die out. They are one magnificent animal. We need to plant more habitat, more vegetation, and invite these lizards back. This is a living dinosaur, and we need to protect them. They may be scary, but they do a fantastic job. Wow. Percy the pygmy possum was in the pantry picking prunes out of the pudding, and Penny the platypus was on the porch playing pick-up sticks with Poppy the pink slug. This is a mountain pygmy possum, critically endangered, and this little marsupial is only found in alpine regions of Victoria and New South Wales. Now, it was only discovered in 1966, and in 1967 it was in the Guinness Book of Records as the most endangered, rarest animal on the planet, because only one was found. Now, mountain pygmy possums were discovered in the Melbourne University ski chalet in a ski lodge. Someone was going to whack it over the head with a broom thinking it was a mouse. Now, the scientific name, binomial name, is Burramus parvus, which means small little one. What I want you to do is have a good look at some of its adaptations. You can see its long whiskers for feeling around in the boulder scree, chasing insects. It is thought that the mountain pygmy possum has a range of less than 7 square kilometres. These little possums are endangered because of climate change. Ironically, they're freezing to death. When the climate gets warmer, there's less snow and these animals freeze. In the wintertime, they use the snow as an insulation blanket to keep nice and warm underneath. Other threats introduce predators such as European foxes and feral cats. Now, it's imperative for these little possums to gorge themselves on bogong moths to build up their fat reserves, because they have to be 80 grams so they can survive the winter period of hibernation. And to make things worse, their favourite food source, a bogong moth, is dwindling in numbers. Of course, mountain pygmy possums are a marsupial. The females have a pouch. You can tell this one's not a female. There's the little fluffy dice there. He's a male. These little possums can live up to 12 years in captivity. Wild Action Zoo currently houses 42 individual mountain pygmy possums. You can see its adaptations. See its curly-whirly tail, a prehensile tail. They use that tail to grab onto tree branches. That's the ecological niche of this little possum. So they climb up into the snow gum in our alpine meadows, and they cross-pollinate the flowers as they're slipping up nectar and feeding. Mountain pygmy possums have a gestation period of only 15 days. We're 40 weeks, human beings, 15 days for a possum. They only have 4 teats and give birth to 4 little joeys. Amazing creature, critically endangered, and these little possums need our help. And you can help out too by locking up your cats and not letting them run around. And when you go to alpine areas, make sure that you drive slowly at night time, because these little possums walk across the road and they get run over by our vehicles. These have to be one of my favourite little marsupials in the world. Percy the pygmy possum, I love you. Mwah. Well, that's goodbye from me and my animals. It's back to the JGI team and SBN.
Hi everyone, I'm Rebecca from the Jane Goodall team, coming to you from Brisbane. Thanks so much to Chris at Wild Action for introducing us to the likeable lace monitor and adorable mountain pygmy possum. Isn't it amazing to think that the mountain pygmy possum is one of Australia's most critically endangered marsupials and lives on just a few mountain tops across Australia? One of the ways we can help the pygmy possum is by assisting the bogong moth, their favourite food, to travel along their migration route by turning off our outdoor lights and helping them to find their way to the pygmy possum's home. Okay, it's time to travel to Perth Zoo in Western Australia to meet the team looking after our water-loving Tammy, the Western Swamp Tortoise. It's over to you, Perth Zoo.
Hi, my name's Kate and I'm from Perth Zoo. I'm one of the Discovery and Learning Officers, and my job at the zoo is to teach all the wonderful children that come to the zoo about the animals that we look after and love here. And I've got a very special part of the Antechinus in the attic story, and it's actually about one of the amazing animals that we have here at the zoo. In the story, it is Tammy the tortoise. And I'd really like to show you a real Tammy the tortoise. This little guy here is a western swamp tortoise, and these guys are only found in Perth, so they're very, very special to us, and they're actually a critically endangered species that we breed here at the zoo. And there's only a couple of hundred of them out in the wild, so they're critically endangered, and very important that we care for them in the wild and make sure there's always a special home for them here.
So in my right hand is our youngest hatchling for this season, and in my left hand is currently our oldest male in the breeding program. One of the problems we are facing now is a lack of habitat, largely because those areas where they would have normally been found are becoming drier and drier every year. And when you're a turtle that relies on the water, when your wet period decreases, it becomes harder for the species to survive.
Some of the things that you can do to make sure that we look after animals in the wild is when you're lucky enough to go out to the bush, always make sure that you stay on the tracks, take your rubbish home with you, and never take anything from the bush. The only thing you can really take photos of pictures of animals that you've seen. So there's some of the things that you can do to look after animals in the wild. Okay everybody, it's bye from Tammy the tortoise and me here in Perth, and back to you guys in the studio.
Before we leave Perth Zoo, here is a very special treat for you. Just look at this gorgeous baby numbat. Have you ever seen something so cute? Did you know that baby numbats are called joeys, just like baby kangaroos? Perth Zoo is doing such amazing work to ensure we save these unique Australian mammals from extinction. Hey, it's Sarah from SBN Sydney team, and you can probably guess where I am, right? It's so great to see that the Perth Zoo is doing everything they can to care for the western swamp tortoise, because Tammy is in quite a bit of strife with so few of her family left in the wild. Now we're heading from Perth in the south of Western Australia all the way to tropical northern Queensland to visit Ursula the Ulysses butterfly and her friends at the Australian Butterfly Sanctuary. Just wait until you see their beautiful blue wings.
Good morning, my name's Robin and I am at the Australian Butterfly Sanctuary in far north Queensland, Kuranda. And we're here today to introduce you to one of our beautiful butterflies, Ursula the Ulysses. Now, Ulysses are the beautiful blue butterflies, and they're only found in a very small region in the tropical rainforests of Queensland. And we have lots in our aviary at the moment. And to actually get these butterflies, we have to collect their eggs. And once we've collected the eggs, it's 5 days until those little tiny baby caterpillars hatch out. And then we have to take very good care of them. We have to give them fresh food every day. And we have to feed them for at least 3 weeks until they're big enough and they have all the building blocks to make the butterfly. Then the butterfly pupates. So it's like they're having a big sleep where they make a chrysalis, and then all the body of the caterpillar breaks down and then it reforms slowly into this gorgeous blue butterfly. That process takes at least another 3 weeks, so we have to wait 6 weeks between when an egg is laid and a butterfly hatches out. We have special emergence cages for our butterflies. When the butterfly emerges out, then we come and open those doors and they can fly out, find friends and food, and then the whole process starts all over again. Now, Ulysses, being bright blue, is very, very prominent. It sticks out, and of course birds love to chase them and eat them. But Ulysses can protect itself because it can actually outfly and outmaneuver most birds. We built the sanctuary for the Ulysses because they like to fly high up above the rainforest canopy. It's been said that if you're flying over the area in a plane, then you can sometimes see the blue flash of their wings as they fly by. When Ulysses rests, they're not blue anymore. The underside of their wings are dark brown, which actually helps to hide them from those naughty birds that would like to eat them while they're trying to sleep or feed. So we built the sanctuary at 3,666 cubic metres just so they had lots and lots of areas to fly in.
Hi, I'm Evie from SBN's Melbourne team, and how beautiful were all those magnificent butterflies? Ursula the Ulysses butterfly certainly does have a lot of relatives. Hey, we send a big shout out to the team at the Australian Butterfly House for doing all the important work they are doing. Now, speaking of doing important conservation work, we're just about to cross down south to Tasmania to visit the awesome team at Chowana Wildlife Sanctuary. Chowana is involved in 5 separate conservation breeding programs that will ensure the survival of several of Tasmania's threatened and endangered species, just like my friend here, Tommy the Tasmanian Devil. So it's over to Andrew, Kelly and the team at Chowana in Tasmania. Check this out.
Hi, my name's Ned Sharman. I'm an animal keeper here at Chowana Wildlife Sanctuary, Mole Creek, northern Tasmania. Chowana first opened its doors in 1979. It continues to lead the way in conservation of Tasmanian native species. The rescue, the rehabilitation and the release of orphaned and injured animals plays a big role in daily activities, as well as breeding programs for Tasmanian devils, eastern quolls, spotted-tailed quolls, the eastern bettong, eastern barred bandicoot and the long-nosed potteroo. If you'd like to come with me, guys, we'll go and meet Tommy the Tasmanian Devil and some of his relatives. Okay guys, I want to introduce one of Tommy's cousins. This is Moana. She's a female Tasmanian Devil, around about that 1.5 years of age. Next year she may have her first young. As a marsupial carnivore, she has a pouch. I can just show that pouch to you now, guys. With 4 teats inside. Babies are birthed after very short gestation, around the size of a small grain of rice. Tasmanian devils are found all over Tasmania in different habitats, including subalpine regions all the way to the coast and areas in between. They have incredibly strong jaws, which allows them to cut through bone and devour the whole carcass. These animals really are a scavenger and clean up our environment. They're found, of course, in the wild, exclusively in the island state of Tasmania. Okay guys, another one of Tommy's little relatives here. About a 5-month-old Tasmanian Devil. Pouch life for about 6 months, starting to grow teeth. In another 4 months' time, these animals will be totally independent. Good little boy.
Odonata are a not-for-profit who build threatened species populations by establishing and managing predator-proof sanctuaries, including Mount Rothwell Conservation Reserve. Species we protect include southern brush-tail rock wallabies, eastern quolls, eastern barred bandicoots, bushstone curlews, and eastern bettongs. This year, Odonata undertook the mammoth task of evacuating the captive population of critically endangered southern brush-tail rock wallabies from the bushfires in the ACT. And against all the odds, all of the wallabies have all survived and have been subsequently returned to the ACT, alive and well. Odonata have identified the need to build populations of threatened mammals by expanding our network of sanctuaries across various locations along the east coast of Australia. These sanctuaries will ensure that when tragedy and disaster hit, such as fires, droughts and disease, we have multiple security sites for our unique endangered wildlife. We have set this ambitious goal as we are confident we can deliver, and our mammals need us. Many of Australia's native animals are on the edge of extinction and will not survive the current degree of threats. We aim to ultimately build and support critical populations for future wild re-establishment beyond the fence.
Hi everybody, Ben here from Jane Goodall's Roots and Shoots, coming to you from Melbourne, Victoria, where I'm still in my backyard looking for wildlife. Well, I gotta say, it has been so cool learning about all these characters from an Antechinus in the attic, and the great thing is that we can each take a next step in looking after these animals and plants in the wild. You can visit a zoo, wildlife sanctuary, or wildlife park or centre near you to learn about the conservation programs and efforts being made to help these species in the wild. You can also join Roots and Shoots Australia with me and the team as we look after wildlife around the country. Head to rootsandshoots.org.au today to find out heaps of great free resources, activities and ideas to kickstart your own conservation adventure from your own backyard there at home. Right now, we're going to cross over to Kenmore South, where there's some Roots and Shoots leaders who've come up with a pretty clever way of using everyday items to create brand new homes for their local possums.
Hi, I'm Millie Chappell.
And I'm Erin Animat. We are the Roots and Shoots captains of Kenmore South State School.
We are learning how to rewild our school. Today we're going to teach you how to make an artificial ringtail possum dray. For this simple project, you will need a wire hanging basket. The bigger the better.
You will also need some coconut fibre,
You will need some wire cutters,
scissors and zip ties. Step 1. Place some coconut fibre on the bottom of the wire basket.
spread it around and pull it apart to make it cover the bottom. Don't worry if it's a bit messy, the possums will make it what they want.
Then pull apart the wires to make an opening for the possum.
Pull the mesh away from the opening.
Next, put the two halves of the baskets on top of each other and align.
Firmly zip tie them together. Then trim the zip ties, poke them down and ask an adult to file back if needed.
And this is the finished result of our artificial possum dray.
Thanks for watching our video so you know how to rewild your school.
Fantastic, Kenmore South. What a great idea. Thank you for sharing those ideas. I might try and create a possum dray out of everyday items in my home as well. It's cool to see that students all over Australia are leading the way in looking after our wildlife. Now we've got a really special treat. We are going to hear the first few pages from the book The Dream of the Thylacine, a new book created by Margaret Wild and Ron Brooks, courtesy of Storybox Library and publishers Allen and Unwin. Then we're going to hear from Corey Tutt, founder of Deadly Science, who's going to be the EndNote speaker wrapping up this week of wonderful conservation episodes.
Ailing am I, in cage of twisty wire, cold concrete. Mourn, ache, yearn. Know you not that my heart is a forest? Run with me through trees of striply bark. Run with me over creeks of flickering fish. Run with me where the snow falls slow.
Yama everyone, my name's Corey Tutt. I'm a proud Kamilaroi man. Let's make sure that today, this week, and for the rest of eternity, that we ensure that we look after all species on Earth, so we can ensure that no more species, Australian species like the thylacine, become extinct. On the 7th of September, this week, we celebrated National Threatened Species Week with over 30 great speakers from around the globe. This week, in 2020, marks 84 years since the thylacine, the last known thylacine, died, Benjamin, down at Hobart Zoo. Caring for country is so important. It's been so important with my people, the Kamilaroi people and Aboriginal people all across Australia, and we've preserved and looked after the species. With over 1,800 species critically endangered, we need to step up. We need to continue to care for country because we're here for a short time and a lot of these animals are disappearing before our very eyes. If you've got a passion for science or wildlife or any form of nature, I encourage you to follow it so we can keep caring for country no matter where you're from and species so we can preserve them for future generations.
We hope everyone is now feeling really inspired and motivated to care for our wonderful wildlife and this great country that is their home and ours, Australia. I know I am. As the author of An Antechinus in the Attic, I'm personally feeling a great sense of hope for the future after seeing so many dedicated wildlife experts and organisations doing so much to conserve and protect all the curious creatures from An Antechinus in the Attic and many more that urgently need our help. I would like to personally thank everyone who has collaborated for this national launch, and especially our keynote speakers, in order of appearance, Graz van Egmond, Dr. Sally Box, Dr. Ian Redmond, Waka Waka Elder Uncle Paulie Joe Chapman, Dr. Jane Goodall and Corey Tutt. I send a very special heartfelt thank you to Mike Mollard for his brilliantly exuberant illustrations that have brought all the characters from An Antechinus in the Attic to life. It is my sincere wish that this book will encourage children to fall in love with Australia's unique wildlife, as we always want to protect those that we love. Every purchase of this picture book is supporting conservation and youth initiatives around Australia, and throughout September, the book is also supporting the work of many of the organisations featured in this series. Remember, every day we can choose our actions, so let's all take whatever actions we can to ensure Australia's precious species can thrive for all the future generations ahead.